Hello and welcome to this episode of WildOhio podcast. We are here at the Imagination Station in Toledo for the IMAX movie premiere in the northern part of the state that was put on by the department. So
we took a road trip from Cincinnati
earlier this week.
2 days ago.
All the way up to Toledo.
And I'm joined by my regular podcast hosts,
John Kaufman.
Abby Rodebeck.
And today we have Kent Bekker out of the Toledo Zoo here with us. And Kent, we're pretty excited for this. It's just going to be kind of a quick little cliff notes about all the collaboration and things that you all do at the zoo. But you're doing a lot of amazing work at the zoo. And I think we've already kind of unanimously decided that we're going to see more Kent Bekker on this podcast. So for those of you at home watching this, we hope this gets you excited, but there's going to be a lot more Toledo Zoo in hopefully the near future. So, Kent, why don't you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself and the Toledo Zoo?
Sure. So I'm the chief mission officer at the zoo, so I oversee animals, vets, conservation, which is what we're going to talk about today, maintenance, horticulture, a few other things. I've been at the zoo for about almost 30 years now. And
just a few things there.
Yeah.
Just a couple things to dabble in, right?
Yeah, just a few. But what we're going to talk about today, we're really proud of our conservation efforts and the things that we've done with Division of Wildlife in many circumstances to hopefully recover some of Ohio's, more imperiled species.
Yeah, one of the things that I found really unique and when we were kind of preparing for this is that when you think zoo, I think a lot of folks think about overseas.
Exotics,
Elephants.
right? Yes.
And when we look at the list and the collaboration that the Division of Wildlife has with you all, there's a plethora of native species that you all work with, which is fairly unique. And I mean, I can't tell you how much that we appreciate the work that's done, but hellbenders, Allegheny wood rat, Blanding's turtle, sturgeon, right. And we just did a release here in Cleveland last week.
Yeah. There'll be more coming up here soon.
Yep.
You guys had the first successful Allegheny wood rat reproduction, at least from our litter, as I understand it.
Yeah.
But tell us more about what some of those projects are.
Yeah, so I think what you touched on is something that I'm kind of proud of at Toledo Zoo. A lot of zoos do focus their efforts on international conservation, and I think there's a dogma held that, because of the animals we display to the public, that we need to be doing that kind of work. We do that also. We've got a strong international conservation effort, but the local species are obviously not only in some circumstances easier to do from a financial perspective or from a resource perspective. They also, I think, give us a great opportunity for reaching out to the public a little bit more efficiently. So a lot of the conservation issues that are facing international wildlife, obviously the same issues facing our wildlife
brings it
in our
closer to
backyard.
home.
Yeah, so I can talk about elephant natural history and how much effort they put into their offspring and how infrequently they reproduce and how long they live, but that's an easier story to tell with a Blanding's turtle that could go 100 years and has very few of their offspring survive. So
sturgeon are like that too, right?
Yeah,
sturgeon have a very
long lifestyle.
Yeah. And you mentioned sturgeon release. We've got that coming up here this Saturday. We're going to be releasing sturgeon in the Maumee River.
Very good.
How many individuals are you putting out?
So we rear at the zoo in our streamside facility, and about 1,500 are produced out of there every season. Those are paired with 1,500 that come from Genoa Fish Hatchery, a U.S. Fish and Wildlife run fish hatchery in Wisconsin. Okay. So it's actually an effort where there's going to be a comparison made through our partners, in this case, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, UT, you guys, Division of Wildlife, a comparison made between traditional hatchery reared sturgeon and streamside sturgeon. So in total, 1,500 are going to come from that trailer, and another 1,500 will come from Genoa. So we've released 3,000 every year for the last 6 years.
And we're gaining data on, like you said, the ones the hatchery or the ones that you're doing. So what specifically makes the ones that you're raising unique compared to the hatchery?
So they're in contact with Maumee River water the entirety of their life. So the eggs are brought down from the collection location in Michigan they're collected by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They're brought down to the trailer where they're reared in contact with Maumee River water. Back to what you said, they live so long. The idea is that likely causes a more solid imprinting on what will be the natal water. So
and you all are releasing those as fingerling.
I was going to say
fry.
How big are they when they put them in?
So I don't know if this doesn't work well on the radio.
Yeah, well, that's
but
all right. No,
but
but hey, we can
So
camera can see
five
it.
to 6 inches,
Yeah.
5 to 6 inches,
So-
which for a sturgeon is fingerling size.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
And they grow at an astonishing rate. So towards the end of that period, we're growing them for about 6 months. For the end of that period, they're getting about a centimeter a month almost. It's pretty.
that is
It's pretty
quick.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm just going to insert my pop quiz here for you.
Pop quiz. I don't like pop
quiz.
quizzes, Kent.
Do any of you know the on record largest sturgeon caught in Ohio?
Length?
And when?
The length?
Weight.
Weight and length, or just?
Weight and year.
See, you're going to have some knowledge.
I don't know that I know this answer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have no idea the year. I'll take a guess on weight. 100 pounds. I have
Greater.
no idea. Greater than that.
I'm going to guess 285 pounds,
What?
somewhere around 1910 to 1920.
You're very close.
Did
It's
he cheat?
1929.
Okay.
216 pounds.
They're a big fish.
Suspicious
They're a
how
big
close
fish.
you were.
Yeah,
They're
it was.
gentle
That was a really close
They're
guess.
gentle
He's an avid angler.
Yeah.
All right.
So aside from sturgeon, what other big projects? The Hellbenders?
So the Hellbenders are a big one for us. We have been participating since I think probably 2018, maybe.
What an awesome species, and also speaks volumes to a lot of what some of this movie is about, but just water quality
Yeah.
indexes
Oh, yeah.
and the H2 Ohio and
Yeah.
all the crep and a lot of things that we've already covered on this episode. But without water quality, we do not have Hellbenders.
They are absolute indicator
They're
species.
such a cool looking salamander. Does
Well-
not look like it should be native to North America.
No, not at all. And that project's been really successful. You guys have, I'm sure your listeners are aware, some of those animals that were first released from our captive raised animals are actually been caught reproducing in the wild now. So, there's already evidence that the efforts that Division
Yeah, that's
Wildlife and the
amazing.
partners are doing have been successful with those released animals surviving.
How long has the Hellbender project been going on?
I think I misspoke. I think it was 2010 we started. Does that
Okay.
sound right? And so that was when the partnership was created. And
Okay.
the rearing is done by Columbus Zoo, Toledo Zoo, and then we have a partner in town, Penta Career Center, and they're actually rearing some Hellbenders there too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh. So
Is that high school students?
It is. It is. They have a small animal husbandry program.
That's awesome.
And it's awesome for a few things because Hellbenders are actually, once you hatch the eggs, they're not that terribly hard to rear, but they need a lot of space because they don't necessarily get along with one another.
Right.
So, we'll do the hatching at the Toledo Zoo, and then they get transferred to Penta, where high school students that are learning animal husbandry are actually participating in a state endangered rearing and release program. So it's
That's
been
a
a really
cool-
cool partnership for many reasons.
I knew I liked Hellbenders. I know I like them even that much more, knowing that they don't coexist very well with others. Because as
That's
we've
like
taken this
you.
podcast on the road, I'm kind of a loner. Like I'm kind of that lone
He's cranky.
Hellbender wolf. So
I don't think that's how it goes.
very
Jordan.
cranky.
I like that you're working with all those partners.
He's fully submergible.
So, so of all those species that we've kind of covered, which one is kind of your spark? Where's your passion really when you come into the office? Like, man, this is the one I'm wanting to work with.
So we've been marking turtles locally for a very long time, and I actually started that program at the Toledo Zoo before I was in my current role. So what's fun about that is not only the animal itself, but I'll occasionally get our conservation staff that comes back into the office, and we'll have caught a turtle that I marked 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so
Cool.
yeah, so that's kind of cool.
Seeing old friends.
Yeah.
I just saw this on an Instagram reel, and I think it would be good for folks to know this because I didn't know this. But you talk about marking turtles, and I think maybe if you could talk a little bit more of what that process is. What I saw was a horrific photo of someone that had put nail polish or paint on a turtle shell for recap identification purposes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't allow, as I understand, it doesn't allow the shell to actually breathe, and it actually is detrimental to the turtle. The turtle can survive, but it looks like a horrible existence for the turtle. The shell becomes deformed. So how are
Really?
you marking these turtles?
So both old school and new school. So in the case of the sturgeon, hellbenders, and turtles, they're all getting marked with microchips now, passive integrated
Yeah.
transponders, which
Yeah.
are kind of like what's in your dog maybe,
Yeah,
and
the
it
pit
gives
tags
it
and-
gives an individual number. But in the case of turtles, you can kind of do a marginal scale notch too, a shell notch, which is a easier way to identify and do it in the field. You don't need the scanner, and it's just an easy way. So
you just pick that turtle up and you can see it right now.
And then each little marginal scoot corresponds to a number, so you can actually identify a number that way. But we do it both ways because one is a bit more permanent and a bit more analytical, new kind of, so to speak. So all the stuff that we participate in as far as release, they're generally pit tagged in that way.
And is that just Blanding's turtle that you're marking, or are you marking all kinds of different species?
So we've got a couple of programs going on with Blandings and Spotted. They were partially funded through a competitive state wildlife grant, and then we've kind of bridged the gap when grants aren't there and just picked up the work ourselves. And then
Good
box
for you.
turtles too. So we're kind of doing work on all the state listed turtle species, at least in our region.
We might have listeners and folks watching who aren't familiar with Blanding's turtles particularly. We've all heard of box turtles, right? So what part of the state of Ohio where you find Blanding's turtles?
So they're up in this region, in largely the northern, somewhat central region in Ohio.
Yeah.
And they'll range
have
up
you
into
seen
Michigan.
one?
I have never seen one in person.
So
No.
growing up in the state up north, we used to catch them with regularity, and it is such a very, very cool turtle. So the whole underside of them is bright yellow, and they've got this underside of their neck that is yellow, and it gives them just kind of a permagrin kind of look about them. It's a very, very cool turtle, and we would find them where you wouldn't expect to find a turtle of that size. We're talking football size. Some of them, maybe football might be a bit large on them, but they're
can
pretty
get
big
big.
turtle.
Yeah.
And we would find them in like almost an ephemeral pool wood duck setting in like the woods, and that's where we would run across them.
Is that their natural habitat? Where do you normally find them?
They're really diverse. So I think most of us in this region know of them from the Lake Erie marshes, but you're exactly right. I mean, you can get out in the Oak Openings region, Williams County, and they'll live more in an ephemeral wetland. In some of the region, they're in, believe it or not, ditches. They're moving between suitable habitat and ditches. So they're pretty Catholic in their habitat preferences. It's kind of surprising.
What's the biggest threat to Blanding's turtle? Is it fragmentation and deforestation, or lack of marshes, or is there something else going on there?
One of the biggest issues kind of circles back to even my elephant analogy earlier. These are the longest lived freshwater turtles. So there have been documents of them living over 100. They are supposed to survive with very little recruitment of their population at all. In a healthy population, they can go many, many years with 0 eggs hatching and 0 offspring, and that's what they've evolved to do. That's what they need to do. So you can imagine a scenario what they're currently living in. You've got subsidized predators.
Yeah.
You've got insuitable oviposition habitat, and you've got a matrix of habitat that now already a species that shouldn't have many surviving have to make those even survive. So all of those things are just stacked up against them, and
But how awesome to have folks on your team that are knowledgeable about that be addressing that for a species that's already located in the state. Again, that's so unique to a zoo, and it's awesome work. I mean, it's real interesting work as well.
I have to assume that if folks come to Toledo Zoo, they're going to see examples of Blanding turtles.
So
sturgeon.
that's another thing that we do that I'm kind of proud of is we have a natural history museum that we opened a few years back, and it's a zoo spin on it. It's what you would expect. There's animals, but we have, for example, a sturgeon touch tank. So
cool.
We're interpreting the sturgeon program. We've got a Hellbender exhibit where you can actually go underneath it and look up at the Hellbender, which you guys have all seen Hellbenders. They kind of look like a rock, and if you display them well, they're just sitting under a rock. So if you can get underneath it and see the animal. So we all of our efforts are interpreted somewhere in the zoo. We haven't talked about, we've got a big native plant effort, and we've converted a lot of our plant beds out in front of the museum to native plants for those reasons. So I think the visitors to the zoo get a good experience with a lot of the efforts that we're doing.
Awesome.
I think one of my favorite facts about the Hellbender is that it's also called a snot otter.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah. It's
Snot otter?
Oh yeah, that makes sense if you've seen one.
That should have been your pop quiz.
Yeah, right there. I wouldn't have got it, but I
would
get
have
it.
been way off on that one.
Yes, again,
that's got to be the largest. I know in Ohio it is. Is there any other amphibian that's larger than that in the United States?
It is North America's largest salamander.
How cool.
And its closest relative in Asia is huge.
It's absolutely huge. Like, I mean, enormous, right? Like up to 4 or 5 feet, enormous.
Do you happen to own the shirt Hellbenders Are Real? Do you have that yet?
I do not. I
Oh,
have
you gotta
its.
get one.
I have its
I feel like we
predecessor,
can-
the first printing. Of
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The relic. I feel like we could probably help Kent out with a Hellbenders Are Real shirt.
Yeah.
So we've got some staff members that one was wearing one today. So shout out Hellbenders.
Yeah,
So
for real.
Kent, I can't tell you how excited we are to come up and really get into more of this. And because it's a video component, I'm gonna maybe task or challenge you a little bit, and if we come to location, maybe we can actually show some of the viewers
That'd be cool.
what
Oh,
a
absolutely.
Blandings turtle
Yeah.
does look like and
Yeah.
what a snot rocket.
No,
Otter.
Snot-
Not
Not
otter.
Snot Rocket.
Otter.
For the
Okay.
listeners,
But
not
it's
Snot
not
Rocket.
otter.
We're going
looks
to call
like.
them snot
So-
rockets from now on.
Well, you can patent that, Jordan Phillips. So, Kent, thanks again for being a guest. I hope you enjoy the premiere. It's a great
Yes.
movie.
I'm looking forward to
highlights-
it.
Yeah, really highlights some of the great locations in the state of Ohio, highlights conservation, and it highlights the collaboration and the work that all of us do to try and keep places wild and populations healthy for the future to come. So, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
the time
much.
and appreciate all the Division of Wildlife support.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Welcome back. So for the second part of this episode here at the Toledo premiere, we have Kim Kaufman. Kim, welcome.
Thank you so much. What an honor to be here.
Thank you for coming. I'm looking forward to this. So, Kim, you're with BSBO. Why don't you go ahead? We're acronym heavy. So why don't you, I don't want to steal your thunder, but why don't you tell us a little bit about what BSBO is and what your passions are in working with that organization?
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. So, on paper, BSBO, otherwise known as Black Swamp Bird Observatory, on paper, we're an independent nonprofit organization, and we're located in Oak Harbor, Ohio. Our offices are just inside the entrance to McGee Marsh Wildlife Area, the gateway to birding in spring. And
Featured in this film as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure
We're
is.
so excited to see it. And our mission at the heart of it is really to help people fall in love with birds. Helping people fall in love with birds is that critical first step to getting them to care more about bird conservation. And we do that by teaming scientific research with education and outreach programs, and then economic development. Believe it or not, for a bird observatory, economic development and birding tourism is a big part of what we do.
I got to think it's enormous, especially when we think about what's highlighted in the film with the
Yeah.
biggest week in birding. But and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but economic development, obviously, it's huge. Do you have any idea on some of the numbers of what that's doing for the northern part of the state during that time frame?
We do. I'm kind of bouncing around here a little bit, but the way that we connect people with birds on the grandest scale is through our biggest week in American Birding Festival. And this is a spring festival in early May. It's timed to coincide with the peak of songbird migration through Northwest Ohio. And this event brings people here from all over the world. Every state, more than 50 countries, and as of this year, all 7 continents represented
Really?
in
Good
registration.
deal.
What was the last
Oh.
one we were waiting on?
It's Antarctica.
Well, that's fair.
So now I had this joke when I was giving presentations like 6 continents. So if you know anyone from Antarctica, get them to
Now you
register.
can't
and
say
now,
it.
no, I lost my joke. I'm happy about that. But yeah, Antarctica, someone from Antarctica registered for the biggest week this year. So it is truly an international event. A lot of people know about Bird Week. But what many people don't know is that the biggest week is part of a conservation business plan that Black Swamp Bird Observatory spent more than 2 years building. We knew when we moved into our little building at the entrance to McGee Marsh in the spring of 2005, there was an enormous opportunity and a need to share that birding experience on the boardwalk at McGee Marsh Wildlife Area with people from all over the world. We knew it would be a huge success. So we wanted to get ahead of this feathered parade, if you will, of bird migration and decide to be the driver of where that event went. All these people coming here. So part of that business plan included sending out a post-event economic impact study after the biggest week to collect that data, so that when we were meeting with elected officials and decision makers, it wasn't just a lot of birders are coming here and they're spending a lot of money. It's 80,000 birders a year now visit Northwest Ohio.
They're-
That's a huge number.
They're renting hotel rooms.
Yes.
They're going to restaurants.
Yeah.
They're going to campsites.
Right.
It puts some teeth into the bite of what that
Yeah.
what that event does. So, and
Absolutely.
we've talked about it a number of times. I'm sure as you're an avid listener to the Wild Ohio podcast, you're
Of course.
familiar
Right.
with that. So, but we all love that.
Do
one
you-
of the things we go ahead.
You're
Go
good.
ahead.
I was just wondering, can you talk a little bit about what is it about Northwest Ohio that draws the birds there versus Northeast Ohio?
Yeah, that's a great question, Abby. And if you're a migratory bird, and I want people to know, these are songbirds that weigh less than an ounce. So they weigh less than the ballpoint pen in your pocket. As they're coming north towards their wintering grounds, or towards their breeding grounds in spring, and they hit that lake shore, they're not like ducks. They don't swim, they don't even float. So before they cross a big body of water, they want to put down into wooded habitat right on the lakeshore is prime real estate if you're a migratory songbird. And looking at the lakeshore and along the whole north coast of Ohio, so much of that wooded habitat has been developed. And that's important too. We're a tourism area, so we need condos and marinas. Those are an important part of the visitor's experience. But the beautiful thing for us is that many of those remaining patches, which by the way, most of them are there because of duck hunting clubs,
Yeah.
those duck hunters had the conservation ethic and foresight to say these places should be preserved forever, not just for ducks, but for all wildlife.
Yeah. Quality habitat
So-
impacts many species.
Yes, absolutely. And the voice that we've been given, we never fail to make that connection for birders. We say to them every year, if you're here enjoying a great day of birding at McGee Marsh Wildlife Area or Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge, you have duck hunters to thank for that.
Yeah.
So the biggest question that we ask on this post-event survey is how much money you spent on gas, food, lodging, and shopping. And we haven't analyzed this data since 2016, I believe. And the answer blew us all away. The annual economic impact of the biggest week in American birding and spring birding season is now in excess of $40 million.
Wow.
And the important detail of that is that this happens in what is known in tourism language as the shoulder season. So this happens before the tourism season would traditionally kick off.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That really didn't happen until late June, early July. We've extended that tourism season by a full month. And I can't tell you how proud we are at Black Swamp to be part of bringing great things to Northwest Ohio, health and wealth to
Yeah.
the region because of birding and because of these wildlife areas.
Yeah. So, are you going to ask about the spark? Where you
No,
going?
I'll let you do the spark.
Well, I'll wait.
So,
You go first.
so what you're saying too for Northwest Ohio specifically in terms of habitat, it's a good respite area for the songbirds before they go.
Exactly, Abby. And I got off on a tangent, as
No,
I
it's great.
have a
No, you're
tendency to do. But we have this funneling effect that birds are funneled into these last remaining patches of habitat. And as I said, what's fortunate about it is that they are public areas and they're free.
Yeah.
The access is free to places like McGee Marsh Wildlife Area, which has really become. We've built McGee Marsh into one of the most iconic birding destinations on the continent for spring migration. There's really no place like it in the world.
So I'm in southern Ohio, Fayette County, so southwest, and I have folks in my community birders who come up every year. You know, and now that's Ohio to Ohio, but I've been to the biggest week. What I always like is when you go to McGee, the layers of birds, not to get on a
Yeah.
different subject, but you know, you have these warblers here and these warblers here and these
There's
warblers
something up
here.
there.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me.
That's such a great observation, and that really, I want to speak to our migratory bird research because for more than 30 years, the Bird Observatory has been studying migratory birds in the marshes of Northwest Ohio, working 7 days a week during spring and fall migration, working with hundreds of volunteers that support this effort. We were the first before all the technology out there like eBird and others, which are great,
Yeah.
to say we identified this as waves of birds. In each wave and each pulse of each wave are particular species. That data helps land managers, private and governmental land managers, know how to manage their habitat for the timing of arrival of those species, but it also lends itself to our birding tourism season that we've created.
Absolutely.
So we
Yeah.
can say to a birder, if you want to see a black-throated blue warbler, this is the week you should call in sick to work and
Yeah.
be at the
Well,
lake
you
shore.
have people who are trying
Have
to
to
get
go.
life birds. They're trying to get
Yeah.
year birds. They want to be there at that peak time.
Participating
Yeah.
in a big year.
Yeah. So the science of what we do at Black Swamp also lends itself to the birding tourism season we've created. And I want to speak a little bit about working with partners, because an organization, especially one like, I'm really proud of our team. It's a small team, but they're so passionate and dedicated and skilled, I must say. We could accomplish a lot on our own, but when we team that effort with partners, both the State Wildlife Agency, our relationship with ODNR and the Division of Wildlife has been good for decades. We work so well together to bring all of our different resources and strengths to any effort that we're involved in. And we're also working with county parks, metro parks, the Fish and Wildlife Service.
Yeah, it
on
takes a team.
Yeah,
It
and
takes
on
a
a national
team.
level, American Bird Conservancy. So the ability to be a good partner really helps us be more effective than we could ever be on our own.
So, talking about different species in different places, we've talked about a spark bird. We're going to ask you, since you're a birder, what's your spark bird?
Well, I am a birder. I'm a very avid birder. I love birds. Birds change the course of my life. And that sounds like a big statement, but it's actually true. I grew up on a little farm in north central Ohio. I was outside. I grew up in the age where your parents had to yell at you to come inside rather than to
Glorious
spend time.
age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a glorious age, wasn't it? For some reason, somehow, I just never connected with the diversity of birds that were there. And sometime in my late 20s, not that long ago, I was at an appointment in this little town of Cary where I grew up, and outside the window was a feeder, and on every perch was a summer male American goldfinch, this gorgeous little bird. And my mind was like, what? I said to the person there, what are these birds? And they're like, Kim, those are goldfinches. Like, when you put up a feeder, they're so dead common here.
Yeah.
Duh. No.
And the entire course of my life shifted in that moment. And
Yeah.
birds became this purpose in life that I had needed, that I didn't even know that I needed. And I've spent the rest of my life pursuing the question of, if those birds could be around me all my life and I never noticed, what else is out there?
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to find that out.
I got to
awesome.
say, as far as sparkbirds go, that's a pretty passionate and powerful sparkbird story, because we have sparkbirds and that got us into birding. But
she's taken
no
that
one
into
here
conservation.
has taken that into to the route that you have. So,
Yeah.
and I-
Thank you,
authored
goldfinches.
some books. You also are one of the founders, I think, of the Young Birders.
Thank you for
Right?
giving me a chance to talk about the Ohio Young Birders Club. Yes, I'm the executive director of Black Swamp now, but I started out as the passer and research tech banding birds in the marsh, then became the education director. And during that time, I realized that we really needed to amplify our efforts to connect young people, particularly teenagers,
Yeah.
with birds in the natural world.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the stewards of the land of the future, right? So we brought together 6 young birders in the spring of 2006, and from that initial meeting, we created the Ohio Young Birders Club. It's still active today.
Yeah.
We have 6 chapters across the state. More than 100 students are actively participating, and November 8th, right here at the Toledo Zoo, the Toledo Zoo will host our 17th annual Ohio Young Birders Conference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where all the presentations are given by students
That's
under
awesome.
the age of 18.
That's awesome.
Wow.
We've had a lot of, in the recent episodes, a lot of young people doing great conservation work.
it's pretty impressive, because we didn't come into this thinking that was going to be a universal message, but
Yeah.
it's great to see. I mean,
It's our tagline in the beginning of the Ohio Young Birders Club is that these are the stewards of the future.
Yeah, I can't agree
Within
more.
less than a year, we found out that these kids aren't waiting for the future. They're doing it now.
Yeah.
They're participating in research and volunteering at places. They're the stewards of now. They're just going to be in charge in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I started in high school
Did you?
with Doug Wynn and
Okay.
snakes.
Yeah.
Doug Wynn,
Yeah.
one of my early
Yeah.
encounters at Killdeer Plains Wildlife Area,
Yeah.
Oh,
doing
we-
Massasauga snake
I was going to say, were you
research.
looking for snakes?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that
Flipping
guy.
tin?
I love Yes,
Yeah.
flipping sheets of tin, looking for Massasaugas. So cool.
Where can folks find information about that Young Birders?
So we have an independent website for the Ohio Young Birders Club. It's ohioyoungbirdersclub.org. There's tons of information, and you can find information too on the Bird Observatory's website, bsbo.org.
And that'll take kids to local chapters in their area, or
It will.
what's closer to them.
Yeah, there's information about all the chapters on that website as well.
So have you seen the movie?
Which
The one that we are
where-
seeing tonight.
No.
There's a group of kids that are in it during Biggest
Yeah.
Week.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
they are.
With
Maybe
Nicole,
they're.
Nicole Jackson.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
They
but maybe
are.
are they affiliated
part of
with
it?
They
the?
are. Our education director, Jamie Cunningham, helped facilitate getting students from the Ohio Young Birders Club out
Okay.
there. So
Oh, you're gonna
some
love
of them
it.
are here tonight. We're so excited.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some
You're
good
gonna love it.
good interviews,
Yeah.
one-on-ones with those kids in the movie
Yeah.
for sure.
Chickadee-dee-dee.
I think I enjoyed that part. Everyone doing their favorite. I cannot do the sound of my favorite spark bird, so I'm very impressed.
Oh, what is
Yeah.
your spark bird you have to say?
I like a dark-eyed junco.
Ooh,
I don't know
that's a
why,
good
but they
one.
really spoke to me when I was younger. I just think
Yeah.
they're cool. They're on the ground.
You can find them.
You can find
You know what I
them
mean? You're not going to
pretty
be
easily.
disappointed in
Yeah.
the winter
Yeah.
to look for
Yeah.
juncos.
Yeah, for sure.
So Kim, you strike me as a motivated individual. So
Somewhat.
we just talked about all 7 continents and over 50 countries. So as you sit in your chair now with the collaboration and where BSBO is, what do you hope to see in the future with birding and the biggest week in birding? Is there a next step? Maybe some awareness, some ways that we can invest into that on a larger scale? Where do you see this going?
Well, I get asked this question a lot about how do you want to grow the biggest week in the future? And our ideas for growth don't necessarily involve bigger numbers, more people, although that's great. That's a great side effect of what we
Yeah.
want to do. But when we started the biggest week, it's hard to imagine that there was nothing going on with birding, essentially nothing. There weren't birding area maps, there weren't services for birders, and so we just developed all those things. But now it's so well known, we've raised awareness to the point where so many organizations, agencies, individuals, even companies want to get involved with this birding tourism season. My goals for growing it are to create this network. Anyone who's benefiting from this birding tourism season has a responsibility to help make the passage safer for migratory birds. So supporting levies, influencing elected officials to make sure that every opportunity to protect, conserve, expand habitat, we should all be advocating for
I
that.
love it.
And then addressing the greatest threats to birds, outdoor roaming cats, collisions with buildings. Right here in the city of Toledo, I'm incredibly proud to say that working with many partners, Metro Parks, Fish and Wildlife Service, the skyline during spring and fall migration is almost essentially all dark.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's because we take that extra effort to connect the dots, to say it's a $40 million economic impact. You have an economic interest
Yeah.
Yes.
in making
this will
it safer for
benefit
birds.
you.
And
Yes.
if you do, we will let birders know that the city of Toledo is on board and doing their part to make the passage safer.
Is there, I imagine not nearly as big as the spring biggest week for spring migration,
yeah.
but for fall migration, is there any bump for tourism during this time of year?
It was so interesting. Fall migration, there are more birds coming through because you have the young of the year
Yeah,
coming back
yeah.
through as well. But the experience
It's
is different.
My parents never went to biggest week in birding because they're not crowd people.
Yeah.
But they always came up for a week every year up here around this time, and they would just go up and down the coast.
Yeah. I mean, in the spring, I talk about this a lot. The nuances of the spring experience are what make it so incredible. So the timing of migration comes through early enough that the leaves aren't fully out, although that's changing a little bit.
Yeah.
It's typically before the biting insects are out, which is a huge thing for birders. And the beautiful thing that I love is that by the time the birds get to this latitude, they're close enough to the breeding grounds that the males are singing. So you have birds that have made short hops to get here. So when they're here at places like McGee Marsh Wildlife Area, they are at their vibrant, beautiful best.
Yeah.
They're active, the males are singing. You have this, McGee allows us to immerse people in spring migration. As you drive down this long causeway through the marsh, you can feel the world just left behind. Your blood pressure lowers, your cortisol level lowers. And there's nothing back there, nothing commercial, which I really, other than porta johns, which
Yeah.
are pretty essential to the experience, right? You are just in nature with the birds. And it's just this incredible experience that we get to share thanks to these partnerships.
Yeah, I'm a duck hunter, Kim, and I love the fall, but like you're talking, when they come through in the spring, I encourage new waterfowl hunters all the time. If you want to learn duck ID, go in the spring. You're going to get spoiled. You're going to see these drakes come back in
Right.
full plumage.
Yeah.
They're going to look beautiful. So I love the spring and I love the fall for different reasons.
Yeah, and fall is more protracted. The birds are sort of just
Yeah.
more casual about coming through.
Yeah.
And so it's out over a longer time frame, and just the
It's quieter.
experiences. It is quieter. In spring, the birds are just coming through in this really energetic rush, and it kind of sweeps people up in that energy. The
Yeah.
vibe is just, it's so good. And I hear people about the crowds. I respect that, but there's so many places. If you're put off
You
by
can
crowds,
spread out.
yeah, you
Well,
don't
our
have to go on the
trails, right?
boardwalk.
When we've
Yes.
talked about all the different trails
Yeah.
now, all the different
other
places.
places around.
But
and
I have this presentation that I give where I have an example of the boardwalk that's empty. And my view of it is that when you look at that boardwalk shoulder to shoulder with people, birds have a way, all birds, of unifying us, of equalizing us. And in that massive crowd of people, all anybody wants to be, the most important thing they want to be is a birder.
Yeah.
Every political leaning, every other thing that divides us just melts away, and birds just become this thing that brings people together. I love that so much. And when we can arm them with information about how individuals, their role and responsibility in habitat conservation, after they've had this incredible experience, we can say, here's a list of things you can do. Buy a duck stamp. Even if you're not going to
Well,
hunt water
yeah.
duck, buy an
wetlands.
Ohio Wildlife
Yeah.
Legacy
Yeah.
stamp.
The wetland
Buy a
stamp,
wetland
yeah.
stamp. You know, it's a small investment that
Oh,
has
absolutely.
big
And
rewards.
you also talk about, creating advocacy is a phenomenal way of answering that question, and we couldn't agree more. It's something that's near and dear to us at the Division of Wildlife and everything we do. We kind of dabble in all things, and we always try and create advocacy. One of the things that I know that you were part of is we had the Lake Erie Birding Trail. We had Jamie Emmerich on here talking about that. Now she's working
on the Ohio River.
on the Ohio River.
It's
But I
fantastic.
think that when I think of birding and I think into the future, there's so many amazing things that have come such a long way. The Merlin Bird app that
Oh,
we talked
yeah.
about. I mean, I love getting into the woods, and I've forgotten a lot of those bird sounds from college. So I love sitting
It's
in
a
a
good
tree
refresher.
stand. And I just did this a week ago, sitting in the tree stand, and I was like, I'm not really seeing much, but I'm hearing,
Yeah.
and I think I know what it is. And it's just a nice little ID
Yeah.
quiz guide right there, and you can bird anywhere,
Yeah.
So
I'm a
that's-
little conflicted by it. Just we see so many people looking at their phones out there,
Oh,
and they hear it,
Kim,
and they're
give
like,
me-
"This
give me
is-
a break,
And
give
this
me
is
a break.
this is the bird.
Yeah, Jordan
And then-
couldn't do it any other way.
Yeah.
I need scratch and sniff birding, Kim.
As long as people promise that they'll spend a little time getting to know the birds, their behavior. and
Absolutely.
different
You know,
Absolutely.
another kick for the biggest week, especially, you have all those folks of different experience levels. What I really found awesome there is, you said it's an equalizer. If you don't know, I've never met anybody there who was going to put you down or make
Yeah.
us
No.
feel. They are.
Very willing to
Everyone
help.
wants to share. Oh, that's this.
Yeah,
That's
and what
this.
an awesome
Listen for
place to
this.
go, because if you're not finding them, there are more fingers that are going to point to that same location
you wanna
and
see
help.
that?
Yeah,
Right there.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we don't miss
Absolutely.
anything.
Yeah.
It's really a wonderful event on every level, and I encourage people, don't be scared off by the crowds. There are tons of other places to go, even at McGee Marsh if you don't
Yeah.
want to go on the boardwalk. So come up and experience it.
Well, Kim,
So-
thank you so much for the partnership, and
Yeah.
we're excited for you to see the film.
I'm so
They-
excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
They
have
did a great
one
job.
question for you.
Yeah,
Have you seen the big year?
I have.
And have you done a big year?
I've never done a big year. I've
you
done a
want
big
to do
day.
one?
No, it's not something that interests me. I love that people are driven to do that.
Yeah.
It's not a driving thing for
Jamie
me.
was like that. I think Jamie,
Yeah.
right? Jamie
Yeah.
doesn't have a life.
She doesn't
with
have
it.
a competitive spirit about
when you
it.
get to that
No.
level, it's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
no
I'm-
phones are needed and no list is needed.
I'm really intense about our backyard list, about what birds we've seen in our yard.
Oh, that's cool.
But beyond that, I'm like, the listing thing is just not
Not your vibe.
right. It's not
That's
my vibe.
fine.
But I love whatever gets people out
Yeah.
looking at and appreciating birds. As long as they support conservation, I don't care how they look at birds.
Amen to that.
Through a binocular, through a camera, however
Yeah.
they do it.
Well, Kim, we're going to be taking this thing on the road, so I can't imagine a scenario where we don't see you again in the spring and we don't get a chance to talk a little bit more birding and maybe
Maybe
even.
at McGee Marsh.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that
let's do
makes
it.
a whole heck of a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See all
Biggest
the
week.
license
So-
plates there.
So, Kim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. This
thanks
is a
for sharing
tremendous
what
honor.
BSBO does and the collaborations, and we really appreciate you at the Division of Wildlife for all the work that you do.
Thank
So,
you. Thanks to the
For
agency.
those who are interested in seeing the movie, you can go to ohiothemovie.com and find where the local listings are in your area.
So that's going to give us the AMC local listings
Yep.
for this as well.
all the info you need.
Very
Yeah.
good, very good. So
Thank you, Kim.
I
Appreciate
think our
it.
next
Thank
one
you
that we're
all
going to
so
bring
much.
to you is going to be at COSI in Columbus,
Yep.
and that's going to be in November, so we're looking forward to that. But until then, we hope to see you outdoors, and thanks for joining along.